Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mitch Taco Bell. I'm your host for Tall Tales with Taco. It is Tuesday, and I want to thank my buddy Michael Costanza down the street because I love his little intros he's producing for me. And the first one that you saw is actually going to be the intro we're going to use on Sunday, which is our Top Gun Day. If you guys are around and you have the chance, there is a Top Gun movie fan Facebook page. And also, we are going to be basically, it's a collective effort. We have 11 guests who were involved with the movie back in 1985 that came out in 1986. And we're talking behind the scenes from the pilots that flew the airplanes that you saw on the screen, the aerial coordinators, the guys that buzzed the tower, the guys that were at the bar scene for you ladies at the volleyball court, probably getting sunburn all day because they were extras. And we have the executive producer's son, Tom Cruise's bodyguard. We have the two guys that actually work together, come up with the dialogue. It's going to be an exciting day on Sunday, May 16th from 12 noon to 6. Now, you don't have to be there, but you just have to go to Tall Tales with Taco on YouTube or Top Gun fan club page, and you'll be able to click subscribe, and it'll give you an alert for the shows. And you can also watch them later, like if you're stuck in traffic on 820 driving to work. It's a good time to catch up on podcast and all things related. But tonight is a special deal, folks. I have an old friend of mine. I told you I have some really great friends, and one of them tonight is coming along, Jeff Bolton. And if you don't recognize that name, you should. Jeff was a staple of the AM radio in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a long time, and is also a huge supporter for all things veterans related. And that's how we met. We met through veterans, one of the many veterans things that we both conspire to help our fellow guys get better and do things. So Jeff is a part of that world. And tonight I'm bringing Jeff on. Jeff Bolton, big round of applause. Thank you, brother. How are you?
Taco, as good as it gets. Man, I used the expression with a good friend of mine earlier today. I said, despite COVID and some challenges in the world and a lot of things we're going through, we're walking in tall cotton. And so very blessed and very grateful right now. It's great to be here. It's great to finally be on.
Yeah, you look great. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt. I call somebody up and go, "Hey, could you be on the show?" Yeah, I'd love to. When? I got a spot open in like 3 months.
No, this is easy because I remember when we started talking about this, I was actually in Alaska. I was in Alaska getting ready to fly the F-16, getting ready to fly the Viper with the 18th Aggressor Squadron up there. And was typing back and forth to you on about when we could schedule it. I remember it very distinctly. So no, this has been great. So I'm excited, happy to be here.
Let's tell the folks who you are. I mean, they don't realize. Okay, so you've been in the entertainment business for years, but you also embedded with the United States Marine Corps in Iraq. And I always remember listening to you on the radio and listening for your updates. You're not just sitting behind the wire. You were out with the Marines doing stuff in Iraq, which I give you huge kudos and take my hat off to you, because that's not. I mean, you get blown up just as easy as the next guy. So
Yeah, and Taco, that's kind of you to say. My dad was an Army MP. I had the opportunity as a young man coming out of high school to attend all the service academies to play football because I was freakishly fast and athletic. And my dad set me down and he told me, he said, "Son, you're not ready for that." And I was angry at him for a long time. He was right. I was not emotionally or even physically, mentally ready for the rigors of any of the academies. And yet I grew up with people in the military as my heroes. So I was an only child, and I discovered the world in books. We had a fine upbringing, blue collar, upbringing, but we didn't have a lot of resources to travel or do things like that. So I discovered the world in books, and that started for me with a really great librarian in Garland, Texas. And I naturally gravitated to aviation, and I gravitated to World War II aviation in particular. So as a very young boy, I was riding my bike to the library and coming home with my weight and books and just reading. Kid reading with a flashlight. So I don't know how it happened, but when I didn't end up going to the academies, somehow life got busy and I ended up not serving. But I never lost my love and appreciation for people that wear the cloth of our nation. And so began for me, after some years of trying to search and figure out what I wanted to do, this path that I've been on for almost 25 years now, of telling stories of people like you. That's how we met, and giving honor and respect that is deserved to people that serve our nation, both actively and in retirement. So I've gotten, Taco, far more than I've given. I'm blessed by enormous relationships, of which you are one, and I know you're very aware of that. My family has gotten far more than we've given because of the love and generosity that military families have shown us. Because you're right, I never wanted to be that guy that was going to tell a story from a distance. I just didn't think it was fair to not go get in a fighting hole in Iraq or Afghanistan or any of the other rat holes I've been in with the military around the world, or at sea, or wherever. I just didn't think you could have any credibility and do it that way. So always made it a point to do that.
What was your first deployment in Iraq? Where did you go, and who were you with?
2003. I was on the radio at KFAB in Omaha, Nebraska. And, the apocryphal story, 3 weeks after the war kicked off, it was a back page news item, and it just made me really angry because I knew how many people were serving. So I went to the program director and I said, I was new to talk radio and all full of vim and vinegar. And I'm like, we got to go to Iraq. He goes, we don't have any money for that. We don't have any money for anything like that. You're out of your mind. And so he didn't know me or how I earned my call sign. And so I said, okay, fine. If I can put the money together, can I go? And he goes, yeah. He didn't even think twice about it.
All right, wait a minute. Call sign. How did you get the call sign, Pitta?
Pitta. This is awful, Taco. Still awful.
I want to hear it.
So number one, that for a civilian to have a call sign is like the Pope, if you're Catholic, like, touching you on the head, right? Because
right. Somebody gave you a call sign for a good reason.
Yeah, Marines don't. In instances, Marines don't give out the call signs to civilians. So to have been given one was crazy, because you never give them to yourself, and you don't have a choice if you get one. You don't care. You can't comment on what it is. You just get it. We were filming, actually before 2003. We were filming on board the Theodore Roosevelt, and I was embedded with the Thunderbolts, VMFA 251, which was a Marine F-18 Hornet squadron that deployed, known as a boat squadron, that deployed with Navy boat squadrons, and flew the same sort of profile that Navy strike squadrons fly. That's a part of what Marine aviation does. Mm-hmm. And so you have only ground-based Marine aviation, and then you have Marine aviation based at sea, co-joined with the Navy on big deck aircraft carriers or on their own smaller aircraft carriers. So we're filming the program other way. America's Marine Aviators. You see the poster behind me right there.
Oh, is that what that? Okay.
That's a movie poster from the documentary America's Marine Aviators, which, and I don't say this for any other reason than that it's cool, but you can watch it on Prime. It's on Prime right now, and it does really well. Tons of people watch it. But we were filming for that. And Taco, I'll tell you that unlike this really pleasant experience we're having here in talking to each other, making television is ugly. It really is sausage making. And so the pilots flying the airplanes, I had gone through water survival, gotten all the approvals. Nobody would insure me, because even the JAGS guys didn't have me sign anything, because having a civilian and a tactical jet around an aircraft carrier was so dangerous that they literally wouldn't let me sign anything. If I hadn't told my wife, nobody would know I was on the boat. I mean, this is how bad this was. So bad, but good. So anyway, the ready room, as you know, is a sacrosanct place where the squadron gets good. We've got camera cases in there, and we're interviewing people. It's almost 2 weeks of just sheer living hell for the T-bolts, Thunderbolts. So we ended up flying off the ship, going back to Beaufort, South Carolina. I was strung out, probably a little fussy, and we get back to the bar at Buford,
Uh-huh.
and the skipper, who had enormous influence on me, Ray Dom, Squeeze Dom, Colonel Dom, got up in front of everybody and he goes, "Hey, listen, I'd like to tell you that it was great having you on the ship, and it was a amazing experience and all that. You know, it's really not true." He said it was awful. Your crap was all over the ready room. The cameras were, your crew was everywhere. We were all we couldn't even go flying the way we wanted to and everything else. So you are hereby known forever as Pitta, Pitta, pain in the T-bolt's ass. And that was 21 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing the backstory on that. That's
yeah.
classic.
And I'll tell you, Taco, I'll give you the better part of the story, which sometimes makes me a little weepy. The better part of the story about Squeeze, and you know this from being a Marine Corps aviator, right? From being a naval aviator and being in the Marine Corps and doing what you've done in the HERC in your career. They don't give the skipper job away. You know, there's a reason you get 18 to 20 years into your career and you're in charge of a squadron. You know,
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal. When you've got that number of men, women, and material under your command, you have roughly an 18-month period to put your imprint on it.
Right.
So it's a big deal. And we were on the ship and on the Roosevelt, and I was sitting up in the very front row in a seat in the ready room. We'd finished flying for the day. I was the only person called to fly as a civilian. So I'm in the back seat filming, and I'm shooting interviews during the day. So no sleep. I'm strung out. Right. I'm just a hot mess. And I'm sitting up in the front, and I'm just exhausted. And Squeeze Tom, again, skipper, takes our crew in because he's responsible for us. Right. We're his flock now too. We're just like a squadron. Any member of his squadron. He comes up and he sits down next to me and he says, I didn't have a call sign then yet. He goes, "Jeff, how you doing?" And I said, "You know, sir, I'm not doing too well." And he looked at me, and which is obviously the reason, right, that he was there, Taco, because he could tell that, you know, I wasn't doing too well. And he said, "What's going on?" I said, "You know, sir, this is my life, and I missed it. This is what I wanted to do with my life. This is all I ever dreamed of, and all I ever wanted to do with my life is do this. Go support young men and women on the ground, fly jets, flying off the boat. This is all I ever wanted to do in my life, and I missed it. I missed every bit of it. And I was 35, Taco. I was 35 years old, first time I was on the boat, doing carrier ops. And because, again, you don't get to be a skipper for nothing, he looks at me and goes, "You know," he said, "I've been flying with you," and I did fly with him and a number of other guys in the airplane. He goes, you're tactically proficient enough. I mean, I was filming in the back. We were pulling heavy G's and blah, blah, blah. And I did okay back there, and I'm a reasonably intelligent dude.
Did you get sick?
No. I did, for the very first time I flew the Hornet, I did. Yeah, I got sick like you read about. But never again. In the last 20 years, never again. But he said, "I could make you a Hornet pilot." He said, "It's not a problem." He said, "But," he said, "in my career, I've only met one of you." He goes, "You take the same risk. You go through water stuff. You go through all the stuff we do. You're flying at sea with the rest of us. You're going on and off the boat. It's dangerous. It's uninsurable, as we found out with you," meaning me as a civilian. He said, "You're taking all the same risk." And he said, I've never had anybody in my entire career," and he was in, 28 years, whatever at that point. "I've never had anybody in my entire career who has done the work to come out here and embed with us and tell our story. And so I could make you a Hornet pilot, but I got plenty of those. There's only one of you. There's only one person that's here telling our stories." And that became America's Marine Aviators, behind us, which I'm very proud of.
Until tonight, I regret to say I have not heard of that, but I will get on Amazon and go look that up because we have Prime.
Go to Prime. It's free on Prime. But it's your story. So I'm just telling you right now, you sit home with your wife and your kids, because you're all going to bawl your eyes out, because they're going to look at it and go, "That's my dad. That's my life. It's not me. I'm not in it. It's about you. It's about Marine Corps aviation." And what I love about it, Taco, then and now, is it's not about how stuff flies or what it hauls or what it blows up. It's about families.
Right.
And when you see it through that lens, again, you of all people will understand it. You'll text me. I'll get a text from you in a few days or over the weekend when you watch it, and you'll go,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I can't. This is my whole story." And I've had crusty old colonels that are, old gruff Marine Corps colonels. Marines wanted me to have a wife. They'd have given me one. That have come up to me with that film with tears in their eyes and said, "Now I can tell my family what I do. I can tell them who I am."
Name of the film again?
3 words: America's Marine Aviators, and it's on Prime.
Marine Aviators.
By the way, I don't think if I'm getting paid anything, it's probably modest. So it's not a call for money. It's just your story.
It's just, I want people to see this. So take you back to that when you did that carrier. The first time, did you board the ship or did you take a cod out to the ship?
No, I was in the Hornet. I mean, I had been to the ship in a cod before, but when I went as a civilian, I'm still obviously still and always a civilian. I went through water survival at Miramar, 3 days.
Yeah.
Jet prop and helo for me because I was flying aboard all those airframes.
And so you had to do the spam in the can.
Everything. And I had to learn to swim before I went at age 35.
You didn't know how to swim? What's wrong with you,
I was the kid they pushed in the pool. It scared the hell out of me. So I had to learn to swim. Here's the irony, Taco. I'm not exaggerating to you. I can pull this up and show it to you. I got a call sign today, or I got an email today from dudes in the Navy. Two call signs. I got to look at it because I don't want to screw it up. It was so funny. It made me laugh out loud. Going back to call sign stories. Okay, I got this email today. Standby 1. I'm close. Here it is. I got a call sign today, and these 2 guys are copied on here. 2 Navy guys. Call sign Tinderella. Tinderella, not Cinderella. Tinderella. And Sleazy Goose.
Are they Navy guys?
They're Navy guys.
Yeah,
because I have to go back. I have to go swim again. I'm 56 years old, and I'm getting ready to go swim again. I'm going to go flying and tell this great story about what Navy adversary pilots are doing and what the reserves are doing. Navy reserves are doing in the F-5. So I got it. The Navy, of course, the Navy is going to make me swim again. So I'm 56. So I got to go back to Miramar. 21 years later. Yeah.
You got to do the dunker. You got to do, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That's miserable.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like for you the first time? I've only been out to the carrier once. That was Mitch Bell's prop appreciation ride. And that was on the Lexington in the back of an A4. So when we landed, I went through all the briefs about, if you have a cold cat shot, here's what we're going to do. And all the stuff they're talking about. But the guy told me, hey, make sure your harness is locked so you don't eat the gun sight, right?
Yeah.
But nobody told me, keep your head straight. So as I come over the end of the deck, I'm looking this way at the, all of a sudden get the sensation of speed, and I got my head turned, and we caught that wire, and I had whiplash for about 2.5, 3 weeks. It was so bad. But did you have any funny stories like that the very first time you come in and trap?
One. I was so excited. I dreamed of doing it my whole life. Taco, I came out. I'm a kid, and remember, the swing sets we can't have anymore because of the politically correct police and stuff, because they have chains on them, and now they got to
try to swing over.
Yeah, I tried that my whole life, man. I did that growing up like you did, but I dreamed about doing it when I was 5. I was coming out of that swing set with my arms out because I was a Blue Angel, back when they were flying the F4. I mean, I was in, man. That was going to be me, and I did it. By the way, right there. Achieved a dream of getting to fly with the Blues in the jet.
Dude, you've done so much.
Yeah, it was amazing to get to do. It was a great blessing, and got to tell their story. But we were on final of the boat. We were doing a touch and go. So Steve Repke, Psalms Repke, who was the CO of the Cowboys.
Oh, Psalms, you were with Psalms?
We get this. Psalms is flying the airplane.
Oh, no way.
Psalms is a guy that flew me to the boat in the Roosevelt. He got this awful job to have to fly me to the boat. No, I'm not kidding you.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to send him a text right now.
Text him right now.
Yeah.
If he's not flying, he's going to text you back and go, Bolton, Pitta, that pain in the ass.
Yep.
Because he got the unenviable job, Taco, of having to fly the civilian to the boat. Now, you know that would have made global news if he'd have screwed it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Marines fly civilian to aircraft carrier, crash, civilian dies.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been awful. So Sam's got this job. We've been great friends ever since then because he was super, super classy, took great care of me. Actually hosted me at his home. He and Lee had me stay with them at their home. I get there at 10 o'clock at night. A couple days before going on the boat. She's got a big giant pot of low country stew. Great American family. You know, their son Taylor served in the Marine Corps. Beautiful daughter Andrea too. So no, Sam's got the job. So we were doing a touch and go, and we bounce, we go, and I inadvertently turned my boot to the left. Where like the old style. Remember the old headlight stompers in the car when you want high beams?
Oh,
when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So that activates the microphone, your microphone in the Hornet.
Okay.
So I gave it a Homer Simpson, a woohoo, and everybody in the ship heard
it. you broadcast over the radio, not the ICS.
What an idiot! I wasn't on the internal. Broadcast to the whole ship.
And what'd they say?
I was so happy though. Well, Psalms was a gentleman enough to never tell me, but it's a derivative of somebody on the ship saying to Psalms, "Hey, tell that dumb bastard in the back to get his boot off the, his toe off the, off the intercom."
Hey, I would have done it too, man. I was excited. I would have done it too.
So it was great, but it was a very moving experience, and I'll go back to Squeeze. Squeeze changed my life because when he said to me, "Look, it's your job to tell our story. I can't." He said, "We can't tell our own story,
right?
And nobody's ever come out here to do it, despite the fact that we've heard forever that somebody's going to tell our story." And he said, "We only want to tell our story because we think what we do is important as Marines and supporting Marines on the ground, and it will help our families to know that kind of thing too." So Squeeze set me on a path 20 plus years ago to continue to tell the stories of our men and women in uniform, and I'm eternally grateful to him and Psalms and a lot of the rest of the dudes in the T-Bolts who probably don't like Pitta to this day because it was an epic pain in the ass for them to host me. So
no, I bet you were fine. I bet you had it.
I don't think so, Taco.
No, I bet you were fine, man. You were fine. I know it. So you didn't eat the gun sight. You only did the toe thing. Did you ever catch yourself sitting there with your hand, and all of a sudden you realize you look down, and the ejection handle's there, and you're like, "Oh, I better."
No, I had some hours in the Hornet by then. I need to go back and count them up. I don't know. I've probably got 20, 25 hours in the Hornet by now.
How many traps do you have? And
four traps, 4 strokes on the Roosevelt.
Nice.
In the Hornet, and flown a fair number of tactical jets, since then. But there's nothing like the first time. And Psalms made it really great because he was very gracious to me. I've always been treated graciously by the people that I have been with in the service. Because again, I don't do it. Getting those experiences, Taco, is a byproduct of the desire to do the right thing, to tell stories. All the stuff you see behind me, it didn't come from eBay. These are things that have been gifted to me, and they're things that I honor because they've been gifted to me by Marines and soldiers and sailors and airmen and Coast Guardsmen and stuff, because people do recognize when you get out of the green zone and you're not behind a HESCO barrier and you're doing the things that people are doing, and you're not there for the wrong reasons, you're there for the right reasons. People are very gracious to you, and so I've been the beneficiary of that. And
you've got a great "I Love Me" wall back there. I see the NCO sword up top.
Well, my buddies call this the Museum to Me, which of course is they're making fun of me when they're doing that. But
well, it's an "I Love Me." It's an "I Love Me" wall. I mean, you don't even see all the rest of the stuff on my wall. I mean,
Yeah, well, it's the same way with this one. There's a whole nother wall over here of stuff, and it's in my private office. It's not out on display anywhere.
yeah,
I don't, because I didn't do any of it. And I don't today do any of it for this stuff, but it does mean the world to me that Squeeze Dom, for example, Squeeze gifted this to me. You will recognize that
tail hook shoe.
it's the hook point off of a Hornet. What you'll notice about it is how filthy and dirty and nasty it is. Because that's exactly as they took it off the jet. And at sea, after a number of cycles, they're supposed to throw them in the water so they don't get inadvertently reused. And they bead blast them on land and can give them out as gifts for retirements and things. But that's a hook point from a Hornet, and Squeeze gave that to me. I don't know. I suppose you could buy one these days. You couldn't forever, but do I know what that's worth? Yeah, it's worth it because a great man that I respect and care for deeply gave that to me. It's still got the grooves in it, Taco, from the wire. You can actually see the grooves from the wire in it.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. This stuff it's a byproduct, and it has a story. The average bear looks at that and goes, that's a door stopper. I'm like, no, not a door stopper. It's something that has been used by men and women and doing a very, very dangerous job at sea at night in crappy weather. And, that was the only thing between them and disaster. So.
But see, it makes a great story. Somebody comes in, you're sitting there talking like,
Yeah, let's hear it.
Titanium blade off a MiG-28 first stage I found when I was farting around in the scrapyard in Iraq when I was the assistant air boss there. And so I got a bunch of Marines from Maus with a blowtorch or cutter, and they came out and cut the first stage of this engine off. And it was awesome, man. You could sit there and go, go. And so I brought a bunch, and I sent a bunch back to my dad and other people.
I love it.
But I love it.
Listen, I got only one word of advice for you, because you know what the rules are. When Blaine and I come over to have steaks next month, make sure that it doesn't get anywhere near me, or it'll be in this office.
No, you can't walk away. Literally, I've got tons of stuff. My wife, she's just, I can't believe it. And I go, whatever you do when I die, please do not sell my stuff for $1 at the garage sale. Like coins and embassy coins and Medal of Honor coins and, stuff signed by astronauts. We all got that. But now
they're artifacts.
There's kind of neat. But yours documents the history. And what I love about looking at your office right now is this beautiful set of gold wings behind you on the red background. So it's the love with the Marines. We got you branded before the Air Force guys were able to.
Oh, no question.
Or the Army or Coast Guard. So
question.
Who do you love best, man? Who do you love best? Come on,
Taco. You've peeled away the not so rough exterior anymore. I was raised by Marines. I'm a civilian, but I was raised by Marines. And so when I began in my career to get exposed to Navy, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, and they didn't do things like Marines, I didn't know any better. I really didn't know any better. And so, oh boy, I'm going to get in huge trouble for this. I was and am, how do I say this politely, Taco? Highly intolerant of people and processes that aren't properly supporting warfighters and their families. And I learned that in my years, many years inside as a civilian inside the Marine Corps, doing these multimedia projects and television shows. So I have a certain grittiness to me that is not necessarily present in all areas of our military. And it makes me know friends in some places, and in other friends, it kicks open the biggest doors in the world, because people go, the guy's not here to be an ass. He just cares about let's tell the story. Let's do what's right. Let's do it right. But not everybody works that way.
What was
Did I say all that politely enough?
Yeah, you did. You did. And I'm sure there's some Air Force guys out there that are watching this offended. Oh my God, it's that Bolton guy. What
if they're watching this, they're your guys. They'll get it. They'll get it. And let me tell you something. I know some ultra badass, super edgy Air Force fighter pilots, bomber pilots, PJs, crows, TACPs. They've got their badasses too. But they're such a large organization that they're a smaller percentage.
Well, look at this. Look who joined us here.
What?
What is up?
Subs. Oh my gosh.
Taco,
wow.
You're one of my heroes, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, how are you, man? We need to go down and go steal some more F-14 parts.
Yeah. You know what? I still got that hook handle sitting in my shop. I'm looking for a good use for it.
Uh-huh.
It'll be awesome to use.
Dude.
Pitta, how the heck are you?
The Wayback Hot Tub Machine. I was just here extolling your virtues to Taco, telling him all these great things about you, and lo and behold, you appear as if by magic. It's great.
So,
in fact, not for nothing. Get ready for it.
Uh-oh.
Look at these two skinny guys.
Very nice.
Oh, wow.
That's a classic.
How about it?
There.
And looking at it high and tight, Sams, you actually had a haircut, you hippie.
I know it. You know what? 4 years in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M, 28 years in the blessed United States Marine Corps, and my wife said, I want you to grow your hair out. So I was like, all right, baby, you got it.
You're looking like a hippie. I can't let mine get long. It drives me nuts.
I went down and saw my mom for Mother's Day, and she's like, what? What is this?
Hey, Sams, let's take you back when you took him out to the boat and he stepped on the intercom or on the microphone switch and transmitted out to the whole thing. What did they say to you later on? Air boss have a couple words?
You know what? I think everybody knew that we had somebody in the pattern who hadn't been there before, and there might have been a little slip up or whatnot. But I did. We were coming around 90, and I said, "Oh, they're telling me hook up. This is pretty cool. We can do a touch and go." So I think that's when Jeff might have stepped on it a little bit right there, but we got to do a couple touch and goes and a few traps, and had a really good time. That's where Jeff earned his call sign. So,
and you were out there. You were out there with them on that cruise, right?
Misery for you guys.
Yeah, that was actually my the workups for what would have been my fourth cruise, but I ejected after. No, I didn't eject. I decided to leave active duty and go to the reserves. Because I was a little bit worn out at that point, but
yeah, which was a good choice for you, knowing you as I have all these years. You've given a full measure by that point, and you certainly didn't need to go back to the boat with Lee and the kids at that age after 3 cruises and 2 back to back.
I did 2 as an artillery officer, and then another 3 more in the out to the boat. So yeah, we've been pretty worn out. So I went to the reserves and did 2 more.
Well, you were the CEO of Cowboys.
I was, yep.
Because that's when I met you. I was the MC for the Marine Corps birthday ball in 2006.
Giddy up, Cowboys. Yep.
There it is.
Gets better.
I was the CEO of the Cowboys in 2006 until 2008.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had to say your name. I remember going, how do you pronounce his name? I didn't want to goon it up, Woofy or whatever, whoever it was.
It was
German.
Gumby, I think, at that point. Wasn't
No, it wasn't Gumby. It was a German guy. Baron. So I had to read that entire script that night. Anyway, we're kind of getting off track. I want to talk about flying. So as a civilian, Jeff, tell everybody, what does it feel like? What are you thinking when Sams here is taxiing you up? I mean, you're just probably too stupid to know all the stuff going on around you, but what did it feel like? Describe actually hooking up to the shuttle and catapult, feeling it, knowing that he is about to do his stuff. I mean,
so we we had to do something. We had to actually put some thought procedurally behind this, and we did it on purpose because, the one thing I didn't want to do, despite the fact that I've earned my call sign, 1,000 times over, the one thing that I didn't want to do and couldn't do was bother him. Right. So we were on a cold mic so that he could concentrate on getting us off the boat and doing his procedures and all his stuff without me in his ear. So yet I needed to record. And so we set up a system in the jet where what happened was SOMS was the group at the time, but you had the single seat VMFA 251 Thunderbolts, and then you had the two-seat D model of the Hornet at 332. And so Otter, remember the SOMS?
Yep.
When Otters were at the change of command for Slam Amlin taking over 32, and he's smoking a cigar and he's drinking whiskey. He's like, "You got to go to the boat. You got to get him to the boat." And so they hacked the two-seat airplane to the single-seat squadron, but SOMS was in the group by then. So he was done flying off the boat at that point. So he had gone and fated, pushed fate enough. And then he was the only guy. Oh my gosh, this is awful. Lee still hates me for this today. He was the only guy qualified to be able to fly this jackass civilian to the boat. So he's in there one day with a speed up on his desk.
You have to continually qualify every so often for your day traps and your night traps. So if you don't actually physically go to the boat after so many days, and it's been so long I can't remember what it is, but that's what Jeff is alluding to. Nobody else in Beaufort had been to the boat recently except for me.
Well, is it a qualification deal also with being a two-seater versus a one-seater? Because he's not back there helping you with checklist or anything like that. Is there?
No, I mean the airplane flies the same, but you can fly either the single seat or the two-seat out to the boat. It basically flies the same. You just got 700 pounds less gas, and you got 200 and something pounds of Jeff Bolton back there.
Sandbag
which
with
is
lips.
Awful. Which we're all in agreement is awful. So SOMS he didn't have to sign everything. He got drafted, and it was awful for him until we figured out we had so much in common between Texas A&M, Texas, so many things. And I'm like, God, you literally landed me in the right hands of the right guy at this moment, and yet he had done some really, really tough deployments, and particularly one deployment after an aircraft carrier deployment for 6-7 months, came home and went back within 3 weeks and went to sea again. And the effect on his family was, hey, where's dad? And so he was at the group getting ready to transition out to go to the reserves. And then all of a sudden you got to go face the demon again, which is landing aboard the boat. And so it was, I hated that part of it because he was done with that part of his career. But at the same time, he had so many traps and so much experience at that point. Especially, I always thought the thing that made SOMS different for me was that he was an infantry officer. So he had a sensibility.
Artillery
officer. He had a sensibility towards the reason Marine Air existed to protect a 19-year-old kid on the ground with a rifle. And he was older, so it made his mix as a Marine something that was easier for me to understand and sort of latch onto, if you will. But on the boat, he would be, when he was flying, I was in the back recording for television for the show, but off mic so that I wasn't bothering him besides my weight in the back as a sack of potatoes back there.
So did you get any good shots, or was your camera everywhere? Did you guys do the Tom Cruise thing and mount them have some sort of brace or clamp that could mount?
Yeah, we did that I did that in the back. You can't put anything outside the cockpit. I mean, they did that now. They did that for Top Gun, but you can't. Listen, this is a fleet. These guys are fleeting up to go to what ended up being to go to war. And so you can't make those kinds of mods on the airplanes. They did all that stuff at China Lake. Those guys, do that routinely. But where we were, and when SOMS was flying me to the boat, those guys were working up to go to war. So no, we didn't make any mods to the airplane at all. It was
we took a complete F-18 D model from 332 and took it out to the boat where the T-bolts were working up to go on cruise, and what ultimately ended up being the post 9/11 cruise.
Yeah.
So did you guys get 2 day and then 2 night traps? What did you do?
We did what, a couple of touch and goes and 2 traps.
2 day traps, and then I flew with squeeze, and I flew with junk.
Yeah.
And when I flew with squeeze, so what was interesting is, Psalms, I was telling Taco that the only rules, such as they were, is that JAG didn't have anything for me to sign because it was uninsurable. And remember that? And they're like, am I supposed to sign something? You remember? And they went, no, it's too dangerous. Your spouse is going to sue the what out of the government if something happens to you. So there's nothing to sign.
Did you have to sign for this jet here? Sign a waiver?
No, this is really bad. Psalms will get a kick out of this too. So this one I was flying the Harrier a couple years later.
Pitt. That's Cheerless Pitt right there.
At Cheerless Pitt, yes. So if you look at my left hand in that picture, Taco, what you'll notice is there's a caution stripe, and there's a little orange little thing you see right there.
Yeah.
I'm talking to this plane captain who's got a big old dip in, and I'm asking him, "Hey, what's that orange thing right there?" And he said, "Oh, sir, you'll have to talk to your pilot about that." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You just have to talk to your pilot." So guy flying the airplane comes up and he crawls back there, and I said, "Dude, what is this?" It was a cage over the ejection select handle. And I looked at him and I went, "Are you serious?" And he goes, "Yeah, unfortunately I am." He goes, "Because what's happened is we've had students who have come in the Harrier, and as we've transitioned out of forward flight into the hover in a perfectly good airplane, they get vertigo and they punch themselves out."
Oh,
so you're locked out. He
That's
said, so if I die, you're dying with me, because you will not be able to punch us out of the airplane. You still want to go?
and were you insured at that time? Did they have
No.
anybody insure you for any of this stuff?
I've never been insured. No.
Oh my God.
No, I've never been insured.
So look at that tree line. See the tree line behind you? There's like 3 miles of runway back behind you, and that's the wild Weyerhaeuser tree forest of North Kakalaki. But I miss that place. Our hangars were right to the left of you all.
You want to? Okay, Taco. So you asked me for a story. I know Psalms will appreciate this because he landed and took off there many times. So you asked me for the story when it was the funniest.
Yeah.
So it was the funniest and maybe the scariest. Contrary to popular belief, and I can say this even with him here, I was never scared with Psalms. That was easy because I wasn't doing anything. At Cherry Point, I went to fly, I'm still amazed by this. I'm shaking my head. EA6B. So I'm front right seat in the Prowler.
Uh-huh.
And we brief up, we go get in the airplane, and it's just a dark, overcast day. And the guy flying the airplane, his call sign is P-Lock. You don't have to go far to figure out how you get a call sign of P-Lock. So we're at Cherry Point. He pushes the airplane up, and he said to me, and it was almost like one of those things from, God's lips to your ears. He says to me before we roll, he goes, "Hey, look, you can't do anything over there because there's no controls for the airplane." He says, "But you have eyes. So if you see something, say something." So I thought, well, okay, that's pretty good. So we're heading, as I recall, southeast, and I don't recall exactly how the runways are. Maybe southeast.
Yeah,
I know it's a shuttle.
Right?
Okay, it's a shuttle divert field, right? So in the center, I remember seeing the big. It's like a hill, like you're climbing a hill. And the other thing I could see in the center was there was some little bit of vegetation because nobody ever landed out there, and I could see the black strips in between the concrete, whatever you call that stuff, creosote or whatever it's in there. So he's got his head down, push it up, and I'm looking at him, and I'm filming, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking up, and I'm looking at him, and I looked up, and it was completely involuntary. I said, "Birds." And when I looked up, there were all these white birds doing this from that near that center point,
Right.
but they were closer to us. And, you know, I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid. And they were getting really big in the windscreen. So he looks up, drops an F-bomb right as they're getting ready to rotate, and puts the nose of the airplane back down. So we start going on those expansion joints.
Right.
And then Psalms is laughing. And then he yanks the airplane off. The birds go over. We go under the birds, and he yanks the airplane off the deck. I've never experienced that in my life. In 40 airplanes now. Never. Nothing close to that. You can just yank the airplane off.
Right.
And every single red and yellow light on the panel went off. I mean, it was a shit. It was a Scheiss and Kreipenheimer show.
Right.
Crap show. Thank you. Thank you, Taco. Psalms doesn't use language, so I shouldn't do that. So
like a piece of airmanship to me. Saving a piece of government material.
Yeah, $1 billion liability EA6B, sure.
Yeah. So everything goes off. And so the kids in the back start troubleshooting. There's nothing for me to do. He looks over at me and I looked over at him, and he kind of shrugged a little bit, and so the flaps wouldn't come up, gear wouldn't come up. There was all kinds of stuff going wrong. So it was a full boat emergency. We start puking gas onto a brand new, absolutely gorgeous subdivision.
How do you like?
Didn't make the 6,000 feet. Yeah.
Oh no, that was not happening, Taco. We're puking gas as fast as we can get it out because they're trying to turn us back, and one of you two will know it. They're not bringing us all the way back around in a 180. They're bringing us around to whatever the cross runway is.
Right.
And they want us on deck fast. So we're puking gas out, and every warning light switch is going off, blah blah blah. And he's flying the airplane, and I'm along for the ride. I mean, there's nothing to do at that point. On that side, they had taken out. If you remember Flight of the Intruder, you know, they had the old scope in there and all this. All this stuff was gone by then. They kept sandwiches in there now, in the little hooded scope. So we're gonna catch the barrier, right? We're gonna trap on land, and they're going through emergency procedures, ejection procedures, and everything else. And the trucks rolled out, and then we catch the barrier. The silver suited guys run out and start spraying the foam and blah 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 blah. And again, I have to clean my language up. So he looks over at me and goes, "I'm never flying with you again. This was your fault." I gave him the proper New Orleans answer, which was, "F you, MFer. I'm never flying with you. This was your fault."
Yeah. And what they come up with? What was the issue with the jet?
So whenever he put the nose back down, basically separated every component in the airplane from the aircraft itself.
Oh,
because we were so fast, we were rotating.
Yeah.
And in order to miss the birds and those giant intakes, he had to beat the airplane to death for 2-3 seconds and then suck it off the ground.
Right.
And it just shook everything apart. Plus, it was super wet. It was very. You guys know this, how grimy the air gets between the sea air and the airplane itself. You put those airplanes in a rock, they fly all day long, they never break. You put them at Cherry Point, then it was wet. It had been days of wet, so all the electric stuff in it was bad. So story's not over, but a quick conclusion. So they're like, okay, we'll do it again day after tomorrow. We'll get another airplane. We'll reboot the whole thing. The next day, the weather was junk. No way we're going to fly. So we go out, same guy flying the airplane, different crew in the back. Not kidding you. Normal takeoff, everything's going great. We get up, flaps in the gear won't come up.
It's your fault. You're
different
like
airplane.
You're like bad luck.
No. This time, nobody waited until we landed, because I looked at him first and went, "F you, MFer. I'm never flying with you again." He looked over at me and went, and safely landed the airplane. Trucks roll, silver suit guys come out, and I've never flown a Prowler again.
Did you? Was it the EA6B? Well, the Harrier. They always used to say you want to own a Harrier. just buy some land around Cherry Point, and one's bound to fall into a lawn dart into your yard sometime. You know, this is what we call a Harrier hovering, right?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
this?
Landing.
That's a pilot ejecting the Harrier crashing.
Yeah.
I mean, those things were damn dangerous, but look at this. You're like checking this out. Who is that?
Well, no, they did this, and I'm like, you mean we're gonna fly if it does that? Yeah, and it was not good. This is a guy flying the airplane too, and he was completely confident of the day that we had, and it ended up being spectacular. The airplane was great, and you know that thing was faster. The fastest airplane at that time in the entire United States inventory from 0 to 400 knots, because it had the big Volkswagen motor in it.
Look at this.
Yeah, I know.
Where was that? Was that down New River?
That was New River. Yeah, they stuck me in the nose of the Cobra and let me go shoot some stuff. No live rounds that day.
That's cool.
But
and then look at this.
Yeah, this was recent. This was in the Viper up in Alaska at 15 below. So I want to tell you. I'll just tell you the story because I don't. Taco, I know you have an audience, but it's like old home week we're having you two here, which is great.
You know what? They can just sit back for the ride and relax and listen to the guys tell tall tales.
So in that story, and Psalms will appreciate this, there's a 28-year-old kid flying the airplane, right? I'm old balls now, right? I'm going to go to Key West to fly the Frankentiger in the next couple of months. So I'm 56, I'm still flying, which is crazy. But we need to tell Psalms a story about me being imprinted by Marines and how I was specifically imprinted by Psalms, and how cranky I am dealing with the rest of the services. And it's awful. You have no idea, Psalms. You have no idea what you have wrought in the wreckage, that I leave in the other services by not comporting well, because it's not to a certain standard, right? For the right reasons.
Yeah.
And but this kid in the Air Force, he's biggest kid I've ever seen. He was 6'5", a little short of 6'6" in a Viper.
Wow.
And we walk out of the radio room and get ready to go be Raptor bait. So we're in Alaska and we take off. It's 15 below. And we take off.
Fairbanks.
Yeah, Fairbanks. We take off into the morning sky and we go raging down to a range. And we get into 3 fights with Raptors, which are not fights. It's just you getting shot in the face.
Yeah.
So they're literally up at we'll just call it an unclassified altitude of 50,000.
Yeah.
Lapping.
Not
a fair shoot fight. Me in the face. Yeah, not a fair fight. We're down in the mountains, raging around at high G like a water bug, trying to break lock and keep them off of us. And then so that's over with. And then one F-16 guy, Viper guy, is trying to get requalled for section lead or squadron, whatever it was. And so we did a 1v1 fight with him. And that was a knife fight. That was a real deal. So the airplanes they fly are the big mouth F-16s. So you get big ass motors, and in that air at 15 below,
wow,
the performance is spectacular. We took off in like 1,000 feet.
Is that an oh shit handle right there, right in front of you? Is that the ACM?
It is. Yeah.
Right.
That's so your backseater can actually hold on when you're trying to look for somebody. Which, by the way, I'll note in total truth and honesty here, never experienced that with Psalms. Never had to do that. So we land in this kid. We get out of the airplane. They all have climate controlled hangars because it's the Air Force. I mean, right, they have two things. They can tell you where the thermostat is and where the golf course is.
And they have batteries in their remote controls for the TVs at the hotel.
See, not for nothing. Yeah. Not for nothing. Join the wrong service.
Yeah, I know.
So
no, we didn't.
Well, no, I'm teasing. I know, I'm teasing. My Air Force bubbas are going to look at me. They're going to kick the crap out of me. But I say that with a smile because this kid, we come out and it's 15 below. So we've been fighting. And so we're both sweating like pigs. You guys, you know this. Psalms, you know this when you get up and you go fight. And you're in a, you know this probably from the A4, Taco, from the same time. You're in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
You're strapped to the airplane in a dozen different places, and you sweat like a pig because all of that exertion strapped to the seat is awful. So we walk out into this, it's 15 below temp. The wind chill was worse than that. And you just immediately start just shaking. And this kid is walking next to me, and he looks over at me and he goes, "Hey, Peter." I said, "Yeah." You're just shaking. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, you were full up back there the whole time. You were even yelling at me to shoot a guy. I hope I can do it when I'm your age."
You old man.
Because Psalms, this is when the role reversal came. You're flying the airplane trying to shoot somebody, and I don't have any idea what's happening. Now, the kid who is he's an aggressor, so he's a super bright kid. He's trying to shoot somebody, but I'm yelling at him, "Shoot him! Shoot him!"
Fox 2, come on!
Shoot him! What the hell is wrong? Shoot him!
Did you guys do 1v1 against the Raptor or just another?
No,
F-16?
no, against the Viper. Yeah, no, the Raptors flew up to 50,000 and went.
Well, do they get? How do they perform against them 1v1? A Raptor versus a Viper?
Can't speak to that because I don't know. I'd love to, but I don't. I know dudes that do, but I don't know. I know with thrust vectoring on the F-22 that it probably not a fair fight. But those, to your point, Taco, to kind of circle us back to the beginning. Psalms and I back to that start. Psalms I think had to assume that I was just some other rich dude that wanted to go get a flight in a Hornet, and
real quick,
and I didn't. As I said to you, that was the byproduct. We wanted to tell the story of these crazy people like you that go, "Hey, I'm going to cut my hair short. I'm going to leave my family for 6, 7, 8 months at a time. Oh, and then I'm going to come home for a couple of weeks. Then I'm going to leave for another month, and I'm going to come home in another month. Then I'm going to deploy again." And that whole ethos was something that I just thought was important to do, and I still do. It still drives everything I do today.
Here's a shot of you telling stories, and so you're probably looks like Whiteman Air Force Base.
Yeah, that's Whiteman. That's a young man I flew the B-2 with. Wolf
that kid
Anderson
is flying the B-2.
He looks like he could be dating your recently graduated daughter.
Wow.
Not kidding.
That's cool right there.
So I can't tell you where he is today, but suffice it to say he's not in the B-2 program anymore. He's off in the Secret Scroll place because he has such a big brain that he's doing stuff to counter our enemies. And
good.
He was the same way Psalms was flying in the airplane, and I'm not blowing sunshine up his skirt. Psalms was super gracious about communicating, and so telling me, "Hey, here's what we're going to do. You need to know this. Blah blah blah. Keep your act together." And was flying with Wolf, and he was. There's nothing secret about this. He was working 2 radios because we had other B-2s plus T-38s plus tankers. So he was trying to work 2 radio systems to coordinate everything we were doing. So I had flown the sim with him the day before and actually landed the airplane, and he had the funny response, and he said, "Oh, that's good news." And I looked at him like, what are you telling me? He goes, "Well, if I eat the fish tomorrow and it all goes bad, you can get us on the ground."
Airplane reference for a young
what
kid.
You have taught me, or what you both have taught me, is we get safe on deck, right? That's all I know. So I say things like that to Air Force guys, and they look at me like, "What? We took safe on deck? What does that mean?" They don't know what that means. So we were flying, and he was super busy, and I just looked over at him at one point. I'm like, "Hey, Wolf, dude, you want me to fly the airplane?" And he went, "Oh my God," he's like, basically forgot I was there. I'm sitting within 3 feet of him because he's so busy. And so he gave me the airplane. So I ended up flying the airplane we were up for 4.5 hours, and I flew the airplane for a ton of it.
So you and Wolf sitting there flying, do they have jump seats in the back, or extra guy can sit there and stand observer or anything?
Nope.
Lawn chair.
Again, no secret squirrel stuff. There's a what I would call a server room in there.
Yeah.
And there's a flat deck. Again, a deck. You say deck to Air Force people, they go, "What? What do you?
Yeah.
What do you?"
Yeah.
There's a flat deck where you can.
That's the first floor of the hotel for them.
And they're mad because they don't have sheets, satin sheets, and all that. I mean,
Yeah,
just
but that's it. No, so there's only two. There's only two places on the airplane. You have pilot in the left seat, mission commander in the right seat, and if you're flying a sack of potatoes like me in the right seat, then you're in the mission commander spot. I also flew a 24-hour mission in the sim, which is you have to do that to graduate from the B-2 program because they fly up to 44-hour missions, and so I mean you're locked up in that freaking thing. You don't get out. It's not a game. No tricks. You can't go. Oh, I got to pee.
Well, you got
have
a
to drop a
bathroom.
deuce.
Yeah, you got a bathroom back there, right?
No,
or you got a honey bucket.
Honey bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bag up your own honey.
Yeah. So like I said, there's some folks in there in those programs that are super badass. You guys would love them. They've got the right ethos. They're fighters. They're street fighters. And the stuff that they're doing in that program is amazing. So between flying the airplane and getting that much stick time in it and flying that 24-hour mission in the sim was eye-opening because inside that mission. So again, we're going to moderate this. Well, when Psalms and I were together, there's some things that Squeeze Dom said to me and Psalm said to me and other people said to me, like, hey, there's going to be some stuff you're going to see that we can't deconflict or cover, but they're not necessarily things we want you to talk about. And so I, as a gentleman, I said, okay, got it. So before I would publish something or put something on film or people on film, even with Psalms, I would go and say, hey, are you guys good with this? Right. So that I had oversight, and because I didn't ever want to publish anything. I don't want to give I hate the bad guys as bad as you do. I don't ever want to publish or do anything.
And they allowed you to take cameras inside the B-2?
Yeah. So that was the other sort of strange thing. And I say this not with any pride, but just sort of wonder at this point in life. I got to be the only person in history, civilian or military, to fly and film on the airplane. That's the only footage that exists on the airplane in history. And and from what I understand, they won't do it again. Not because I cocked it up. I didn't. But because they don't have any desire to show beyond what I did that day. And even when Psalms and I were flying together, we never published anything. Everything we did went through DOD and came back to us and was cleared. And it was the same thing in the B-2. I got 100% of the footage I shot on the stealth bomber. I got back about, 3-4 months later.
Wow.
Because I knew what not to shoot.
And you know what? And to Jeff's credit, he's being very honest about all that. When I was on my second cruise, we were somewhere Arabian Gulf or something, and somebody from ABC or NBC or somebody came on, and for some reason the skipper said, "Psalms, you're going to go down and get interviewed." I was like, "Oh shit." Okay. So sorry, Taco.
Peanut butter.
But yeah, I got sent down there with a guy from another squadron to get interviewed. And of course, all the interviewing guy want to know is, okay, so what do you guys do when you practice all these tactics and everything? What kind of maneuvers do you do? And I'm like, I'm not going to talk about that. And guess what? I told my parents, hey, I got interviewed by NBC, and of course it wasn't sensational, so it didn't air because I talk about the tactics that we were flying or where we were flying and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, they always told me if you say something, our PAO told us our little course, hey, if you say something that you regret or you don't want to use or say, go peanut butter, and they're like, what? They can't edit, they got to stop and kind of screw them up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
I just don't want to, I don't then and now, I don't want to be that person. I mean, it's, Psalms could tell you in Psalms before you came on, I told Taco the story of, when I showed up in Buford and Lee had a big pot of low country stew made, and Taylor had given up his rack so I could sleep there. That's the stuff that keeps, all these years later, that keeps bringing me back. And I was imprinted by the way the Marines did business and the way your families were formed and sort of what your ethos is. And the world's changed and the world's a little bit different. I know that the kids are getting younger. It's a little more impersonal. So maybe I'm a little crustier now, but the same stuff brings you back, the same values bring you back, all the things that you guys did in your career. And Taco, the time you spent flying the Hurricane at TQ, and Psalms, all the cruises that you did. There's still a need to tell those stories. There's still a big need to tell those stories. Taco, I would transition on you by telling you this. We are working diligently right now to raise money to make a series called, well, we're not going to call it Guardians because the Air Force decided don't even start with me again. But they gave themselves their own call sign, which everybody knows is illegal. Everybody knows that's illegal. My house cat knows that giving yourself your own call sign is illegal, and they named themselves Guardians.
Sure, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and we named this show Guardians years ago, like in 2014. But it's the first look in history inside America's nuclear forces, inside the nuclear deterrence mission. And man, we're in a world now.
Standpoint, Jeff, or all around?
All of it, the full triad.
Yeah, I was a nuclear qualified artillery officer.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. So part of the
it was a part of the field. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking shooting TAC nukes out of a 155. Yeah, how far is it going to go, and what's the yield on that thing?
Not far enough.
Did you glow at night?
Once.
What?
Right?
You do it once, sure.
Yeah.
Man, a fella could have a real good time in Vegas with this.
And they did, by the way, out there, which explains a lot about Nevada. But I digress.
No, I figured Slim Pickens when he's riding the nuke bomb out of the B-52. And well, they were sitting in there, and he's going through the survival kit, and he goes, 52 pieces of gold coin or whatever it was, 5 condoms. Boy, a fella could have a good time in Vegas with this. But no, you're right. So hanging with Marines on the show, I'm looking at a former Marine, Paula. I got MJ Harris, who's a young kid, went to TCU. He's flying Ospreys now. And then I've got my old gunners on here. Larry Chateau says to tell you hello. Larry right there. And
yeah. Psalms. This I have to get the gift for you here too, because so this is what happened to Psalms. Psalms was an artillery guy, so he didn't give a lot of attention to the appearance of his patches. Mm-hmm. Psalms had some patches, and I'm pretty sure he still has. These are not them. These were replacement patches. Yeah. Which came from Psalms, which I wore on the ship. But you should see the ones that he wore on 2 cruises. They were threadbare.
They were pretty ratty.
I mean ratty. But Psalms, this should bring back some memories for you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Still have them. Right. You knew I'd never get rid of these in a million years. Probably be buried in them. Yeah. Right. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Everybody loves them.
So Taco, part of that point that I was telling you is in the world that we're describing, where we got to fly together and tell the story about Marine aviators and Marine Corps pilots and their families. We've been overtaken by a resurgent Russia and a growing communist China, and we're at a point today where they are building their nuclear triads in ways that we did back in the 50s. That's the easiest comparison to make. We were building our nuclear triad in the 50s with submarine, launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, we call, GBSDs today, ground-based strategic missiles, strategic defense, and bombers. The Russians and the Chinese are doing that like crazy today. We have a cabal of people in this country and around the world that want us to reduce our nuclear triad and our nuclear capabilities. And I think that's a story that's worth telling. So we're putting a program together, a series together to be able to tell that story, but tell it through the eyes of the young men and women doing the job. That's what I've always loved. And I would hope that Psalms would echo that. You haven't seen it, Taco, but I would hope Psalms would echo that. It was never designed, America's Marine Aviators, to talk about how fast a Hornet flies or what it blows up or anything else. It was always designed. Yeah. It was always designed to talk about families and people, because nobody falls in love with airplanes. I mean, we have artifacts from them, but nobody falls in love with airplanes. They don't love you back. But when you see young men and women doing these jobs, it's a hurt guy.
I had a 1929 biplane. I think she loved me as much as I loved her.
That's different. 1929. I'm not talking about the Herc. I'm not talking about a combat aircraft doesn't love you back, right?
That was 1962. Come on, man. It was older than I was. That was an F model 1962, brother.
Get him, Psalms. Get him. Get in there. Get him.
Hey, he's not going to argue, because when he's blowing afterburner 12,000 pounds a second or whatever he is, he's looking for Texaco up there. Hey, Taco, where are you, brother?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't kick ass.
Yeah, and then when we're on deployment somewhere and he buys the big rug over in Churlu, Turkey, who was it? They would always come up and they'd be like, "Hey, Taco, man, you got any room on that Herc? You could bring these rugs back, save me a couple $100 shipping." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine. Bring them over to the flight line. I'll roll them up and take them with me."
Hey, I know a good shipping company now, though.
Oh yeah, yes,
true.
You do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
That shipping company has helped us, as a matter of fact. That's a good deal.
Well, this came up. If anybody has questions for Jeff, now would be the time to ask it. As a woman and a former wife of a pilot, I can tell you that you compete with another woman, but you cannot compete with the airplane.
Okay. I got an answer for you on that. And this is, I have to, like we all do, have to be careful in the world we live in today, but I really do mean this. Spouses have feelings. Airplanes don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you're not paying full attention to the airplane, it can kill you on a perfectly good day.
Yeah.
Spouses don't do that, in my experience. They don't kill you on a perfectly good day. They have feelings. They're thoughtful. Airplanes don't love you back. And I know when Psalms, Taco, again, I don't want to make you weepy here over Psalms or myself, but I would love to share one thing with you that was immensely powerful for me in my life, and I've never forgotten it, and neither has my friend who was with me. When we were in the squadron and Psalms was getting ready to prep to fly to the boat again, a Marine Corps F-18 pilot died in a mishap at WTI. And we were, man, blessed. I think, I know it was blessed to be raised right by parents who, put the right things into me, despite the fact that I was a jackass. And I went to Psalms and I said, "Hey, we'll pitch out, and we don't need to be here. We're not you. We don't wear the cloth of our nation. We don't deserve to be here. We don't have the right to be here. I don't want to be where we're not, where we shouldn't be, right?" And so he said, "No, send your camera guys home. But I want you and my partner Dana, I want you and Dana to come in the bar, the educational room. And I want you to hang out at the end of the bar. And I want you to not say anything. and I just want you to watch. And you can buy some drinks if you want to. You can have some drinks if you want to, but keep your mouth shut and lay low. Check. And so Psalms did that for us, allowed us to come into a room where other pilots were grieving for a lost pilot in their own community. And we stayed at the end of the bar, didn't move, didn't speak, and watched the ritual, I would call it, I guess today, of people that honor other people who choose the same life. Mm-hmm. And did that in a big, loud, affectionate, body, fun way. They didn't celebrate the dude as he passed. They celebrated him as he lived. This
wasn't Boo-Boo, was it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I'd never seen
we did
that.
The same thing for Boo-Boo too. But, unfortunately, and Taco knows this, and Jeff, you know it too, that's the life that we lead. And, no matter whether you're a ground pounder, an aviator, whatever, you put on the uniform, you sign that check saying you're going to put your life on the line. And, that's what we do. And either you come to grips with it or you don't. If you're going to be around for a little while, you don't have a choice. So.
Yeah. In Taco, the point is that it changed. It didn't change. I guess maybe change is not the right word. Maybe it made me understand in fullness very early what the things were that mattered and what the things were that I needed to personally stay focused on. And so I'll occasionally do something that doesn't have to do with people, but not often. Mm-hmm. If it's not based on people in terms of our military and their service and what they're doing, I don't really care so much. I mean, the nuclear story is fundamentally about people. I mean, it's about the preservation of our country and our lifestyle. But inside that are stories that I personally know of 27-year-old women, single moms with 2 kids who go get in a missile silo.
Yeah.
On December the 24th and leave their kids with their mom because they believe in this nation. So there's always going to be space to tell those stories, but at least in my world there are. But it's not easy.
So what's the next project? The Guardian project, but when do you think this will come to fruition where you'll have enough of it to complete?
I think we'll be in production by this fall. We've found a lot of people that are of like mind that realize we need to tell the story, and so I think we'll be by this fall. I think we'll be in production. I'll tell you something else too, and since we're talking about Marines, I got to get this out there because I'm a watcher and an observer, I would love to hear what other people have to say. I'll throw out, as my too many years as a talk show host, I'll throw out my first thought to it, but I would love to hear what you guys have to say and what your audience would have to say, Taco. And that is, I absolutely love what General Berger's doing. He is doing what Chesty Puller and so many other Marines have done that are fighters for the moment in time that they're in. He is destroying the Marine Corps in order to rebuild it for a coming fight that is without question on the way. And the fact he has the intellectual heft and the courage to rip the Marine Corps apart, to go, we're rebuilding for that fight. I love what he's doing personally. I do.
It's a very difficult deal for guys in the Corps, because getting rid of artillery, getting rid of tanks, well, most of those objects, those things, we're a land-based fighting unit, and we were never meant to be that. We were supposed to be expeditionary and on the road with the Navy, our brothers. So to see what he is doing is interesting, because you're right. He's reshaping the Marine Corps to contain a threat of islands. And what people don't understand when they talk about all the islands that they're building out there. They're literally building islands.
Yeah, they're building their
and
own.
building their own islands with a landing strip and claiming that as mainland China, which puts a, they're trying to put a 200-mile barrier around it or whatever they're doing. So eventually they'll have that ring of islands that no ships could be able to sail through. So I could see where the Marines are going with this, where eventually they're going to have small craft where small units insert, do stuff. HIMARS could go in there and they can pinpoint and launch and do things. So it's a very different. It's hard because we've always done things this way.
Right.
And not because he was my OSO. I've followed his career throughout. He is a brilliant guy. And it takes a while, I think, to see what he's actually going for, because we're dealing with threats that are shaping right now to become global threats in the Far East. And if you think Korea was bad in the 50s, now try being behind enemy lines on Okinawa, because we can't resupply our guys in Okinawa because they're able to reach out and touch Okinawa or mainland Japan or even Guam or any of those places. I mean, hell, we'd be hard pressed to set up a base on Iwo Jima again without being attacked by the airplanes that would be able to make the range. So there's a lot behind it that some people, the old Corps guys, don't understand, and I get it because we've been in the Marine Corps. I spent 29 years total, and we've seen things in our generations. So for the new guys coming up, it's hard to see having an M1 go through Iraq or Fallujah, shooting things up and having that big gun to support you. Well, unfortunately, we'll have to rely on the Army to do those things. And I don't know.
And the Army's degrading today, but Psalms, jump in there.
I got to be honest with you. Everything Tacos just said rings true. It is very much, by God, we've always done it this way. But you know what? If you look back at, what the Marine Corps has done from World War II through Korea to Vietnam, through the Gulf War to now, much like a lot of other things that are in our military, it needs some reshaping. And, and we have lived our lives, like Taco said, we've lived our lives based on being amphibious and being the first ones there. And I remember when I was daggone first lieutenant and Saddam Hussein went into Kuwait, I was with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Brigade in Conway Bay, Hawaii as a little artillery platoon commander. We were there 7 days later. And you know what? We sat there for 6 months watching the Army bring in tanks and latrines and you name it on flatbed trucks while we were sitting there being the deterring force. So there's a lot to be said for getting your feet in the sand and putting your war face on, and that's what Marines are good at.
Hey. Yeah, and I think that's what I appreciate about what General Berger's doing is I don't get any sense from him that it's coming from ego, that it's really, really coming from a position of the recognition of the world we live in. And that whole idea of expeditionary is connected to the Navy. And basically, again, if I'm being fair, the Marines carved out an identity for themselves in playing whack-a-mole the last 20 years, as they were commanded to do, not anything that they chose,
right?
But they were commanded to do, playing whack-a-mole, basically from 9/11 up until the last couple of years. But that's not who Marines were ever supposed to be. They adapted to that mission. But this idea that they're pulling all these capabilities back in now to become what the nation needs, that's the Marine Corps. To me, again, I'm a civilian. I'm a watcher. Taco, you know this. Psalms, you know this. I'm a watcher. I watch. I listen. I talk about it. I report it. And I look at it. And when I see what the Marines are doing today, it's exactly what they should be doing. Let's reconfigure this force and readiness to be what this nation needs today. And I'm encouraged by it. I really am. I'm so geeky about it. I've been watching General Berger's. I watched him testify before Congress. I watched him give speeches at the Heritage Foundation. because I'm enthralled with what he's doing.
Well, as they say, we go to war and Garrison broke out. Iraq and Afghanistan has become a little city that you go over there and do your stuff, get shelled, get shot at, and yet go get pizza and
Truth.
Or Burger King or something at the PX. It's just, as I said, we went to war and Garrison broke out, having to wear disco belts, reflective belts. Now, I get it. At one point when you're up at Bagram, you're walking around, it's dusty, and the trucks are driving, and the guys got sand in their eyes, and you're wearing a camouflage uniform that you can't see at night. So I get wearing a reflective belt, but it does kind of make me chuckle. You think the bad guys come in the wire. They've got aiming stakes everywhere. Oh, there's an Air Force dude. I know he doesn't have any ammo on him because he's just wearing PT gear and his M4 slung over here with no ammo on it at all. I got him. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Well, and to your point, I mean, look at Leatherneck. Look what happened at Leatherneck. And, right. We had a position there, and I love Sweet Pea, so this is not an indictment of anything he did. In fact, I thought he was treated very poorly in that. But you have to recognize your conditions, and we just want everything to work out. That's one of the things that bothers me about the psyche of our nation sometimes. Is we think, well, we're Americans, we're good people, we help people. Gosh, we'll spend some money, we'll help in a tragedy. You have a hurricane, we'll come clean your mess up. We'll rescue your people. We'll send a hospital ship. We'll do all these things. And when you look at all that, we think that that's supposed to engender goodwill around the world. But the truth is, a lot of people have their own desires. And if we're not ready to understand what that means, then Marines aren't Marines.
Yeah.
And again, that's me as an observer for 20 plus years now.
Well, we're going in and destroying stuff, and then turning around and tasked to rebuild it. So I'm done with nation building. I think we need to just stick with destroying stuff. The mission of the Marine Corps. Listen, the mission of the Marine Corps is to. God, it's. Oh, wait a minute.
Close with, engage, and destroy the enemy.
Yeah.
Close with, engage with, and destroy the enemy.
No, there was this platoon commander 30 some years ago had this. The mission of the Marine Corps is to. It was to destroy blah, 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 but it was to restore cave dwelling as a permanent way of residence in the former communist region or something like is to close with and destroy blah, 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 restore cave dwelling as a permanent way of residence in the former communist region. It'll come to me at 2 a.m, but anyway.
Right. Well, you know what? We're at an amazing point in life right now and in our nation, truly at a point that we haven't been since pre 9/11. If you look at historical context and you go back to where we are in 1991 when the wall falls, and then this 10-year, peace dividend where you had a guy that went, well, let me tell you something now, these Arkansas girls, no, Taco, they like this certain thing now. It's a little different. I'm just going to tell you. There you are in that period of time.
Yeah.
And then we have 9/11, and then we're playing whack-a-mole with dudes wearing, TNT on their chests. And we're trying to kill all of them with, Hornets and bad guys jumping into subway systems and stuff. And we chase that around. And in that time, you have China and Russia that go, they're not paying any attention. The very thing that the United States used to control peace on this planet, their nuclear triad, they're ignoring. Now we're in a place that we have to take all 3 components of the triad and fix them at one time.
Mm-hmm.
$2 trillion over 20 years, because we didn't do it systematically. We didn't do the bombers and then the missiles and then the subs or whatever the order is going to be. Now we're having to do them all at one time. And so you have a lot of people that are going, you know what? I don't think we should do any of it. And that's not healthy for us.
Well, Jeff, don't worry about it. We'll just print more money. Just print more money. We'll bankrupt ourselves like the Soviet Union did in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because we just won't be able to afford, and our ships will sit, in the piers. Our guys, they don't get ammo. They go to the range and just will sit there and look at a barrel and try to click and sight in on a barrel.
You mean pew 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 pew? You mean like that?
Yeah. So,
well, I don't. You know what? I continue to lay my shoulder to the wheel in this stuff because I pray that that's not true, and I pray that we have enough good people that are going to stand up and do things, and I believe we do. We're still the most perfect place in the world. You guys have both traveled all over this planet. You know what a rat hole this planet is. It's a third world country, except here. In many places, we're in the 95th percentile in our nation, and we are still enormously blessed. But we're also blessed because we're strong, and I hope that's a message that we hang on to. Doesn't mean you have to saber rattle, or I don't feel the need to shake my fist at Vladdy, shirtless riding a tiger. I'm not down with that. I really don't think we need to do that. I think what we need to do is be smart and credible. And but man, that's a story that goes back. That goes back to when I met Psalms many moons ago now. And our values haven't changed. The world changed, right? The world changes all the time, but our values haven't changed any.
Our generational values have not changed, but if you look at some of the political hurricanes up there in DC that are creating a force, those people aren't thinking properly. It's not in the best interest, in my opinion, of the United States sometimes. And
Taco, I don't think it is either, but I'll also say this to you. Our system's working the way it's designed to.
Yeah, true. But
when people are fighting all the time, that's one of the things about us, and it's one of the things that the world hates about us. Is we fight all the time. That's all we do is fight with each other. We bitch and moan and fight and fuss and ball kick and punch each other all the time, and that's how we arrive at wherever we arrive. And I think there's some strength in that.
Well, it's a great country when a waitress can become a congresswoman. So I'll leave it at that. In New York, I'll leave it at that. But you know what, guys, it is an hour and a half, and I have kept you guys on the hook.
Oh wow!
And Psalms,
didn't even realize that.
I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. I know it was on a whim.
I know,
but we're sitting there talking about you. I go, oh hell, I haven't seen him since we went and visited the F-14s down in Waco.
Wow.
I'll give Psalms a call.
I think about that trip all the time, thinking we should go back down there and rob some more parts.
We just won't say where it is in Waco, so the Iranians go down there and get some parts for them.
Yeah, right. We don't need to let those guys know. But on the other hand, I'd be down with stealing one because I'd love to see one flying again. Not for nothing. It'd be great to see one at an air show.
Well, Jay, you know what, gentlemen? Don't forget, Top Gun comes out, re-released 1986 version this week. So on Thursday, Top Gun's coming out. It'll be at an AMC movie theater near you.
Are you? I
bought tickets. I'm taking my son, my mom, and my dad. My wife, she doesn't want to go, but May 6th.
Lines while it's going on.
Yes,
it's gonna be like a picture show. You know that.
It will be like that, and if they to see it though on the big screen, I mean, we've got big TVs nowadays, but to see it on the big screen and the jets running up on the catapult and that the vibration, I can remember the vibration going through me as the engines are running up, and then I'm in college and I'm 19 years old and I'm watching fast forwarding my VCR to a certain number on the digital or the clicker to watch a flying scene to remind myself why I was staying in to write that paper, because I wanted to be a pilot and all this stuff, even though, not a jet pilot, but I was a pilot. But the impact that film had, so it's in theaters for 1 week. And then May 16th, tell your friends, we're actually interviewing, we got Bozo, the guy that flew the tower scene and also did the takeoff. And you see him doing the aileron roll off the carrier.
Yeah.
We've got Admiral Pete Pettigrew, who was the mill advisor for the movie. He's the real Viper. He had a MiG kill in Vietnam in an F-4. He and his wingman engaged 4 MiGs, and they each got one. The other 2 bugged out and went home.
Nice.
And then we've got a couple guys that were in the bar scene, the volleyball scene. We have a couple of the Top Gun instructors who happen to fly the MiG-28s, the F-5.
Wait a minute. Volleyball scene. You want to see my chest right now? Is that what you guys are asking for?
Yeah, nice. It's kind of funny too, because when you look at the pictures, these dudes were out there. These dudes were out there in the volleyball scene as extras. And if you've been on a production like you do, it's okay, ready, action.
Yeah.
And then it's like timeout, and then they're doing whatever, resetting this, setting that, do makeup. And so you're just kind of sitting out there. Those guys must have roasted. I'm going to ask them about that. Do you have to put sunblock on? But
hey, Sums, I got a proper close for you as we finish with Top Gun. So you remember the last day on the ship? I won't talk about the LSO platform. We'll leave that. We'll leave that out. But you remember the last day before we flew off the ship? There was a box of cigars produced. And we took pictures up there.
Yeah.
Each of us with one of those cigars.
Yeah.
I'll split it with you. There's one left. I've kept it.
Are you serious?
Ever since that day.
All right.
I've kept it. It's in my humidor. See the White House down there behind me?
Yeah.
There's one of those cigars left from that day on that cruise at that moment in time when we were there together.
Very nice. Well, I'll take you up on that. I'll swap spit with you on a stogie.
Roger.
All right.
That one is pretty special.
I'll tell you what, we'll get you and Lee and Blaine and Jeff. You guys come over to the house. We'll cook some steaks. We'll go ride in the Armor, scare the local California residents that have moved in, and have some fun.
There's no way.
All right,
next
guys.
Month, Taco. We're in.
Next month. We'll do
Great
it. I'll
time.
work on a date. Hey, listen, I'm going to sign you guys off, and we will definitely catch up with you soon, okay?
Hey, both of you are great Americans. Thanks for including me on this.
You bet, man. Couldn't have it without you. I love the stories. It was great. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you soon. And, Jeff, good luck with all of the production. I can't wait. If you even got a small part for a guy to come empty trash cans for you, I will gladly do it just to be a part of it.
Done and done. Thanks, Taco. Tall Tales with Taco.
Tall Tales with Taco. And Sunday, May 16th, Tall Tales with Taco and Top Gun fan page. It's the Top Gun fans on Facebook. And Michael Sheriff runs that. He's actually over in Scotland. And he's just a great guy. And we've got 7,000 people on there. We have over 1,000 some signed up to watch this thing. It's going to be a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you just never knew about if you like the movie. Cool. And I'm telling you right now, that the new movie, when it comes out, Maverick, I would give my left foot to be a recruiter on recruiting duty when that movie comes out, because like General Berger, the Commandant, I signed up in February of '86. In May, that movie comes out. In June, I see him. He goes, "You know what, Bill? You're a lucky son of a bitch." I'm like, "Why is that, sir?" And he goes, "Because if you tried to apply for that aviation contract, your sorry butt would be a motor T officer, or infantry guy, or something. I don't know. You'd be washing dishes because I'm turning away 3.8 GEE engineering guys from Virginia Tech, and you're a rock." And I'm like, "Well, thanks, sir. Better lucky than good any day, right?" But I'm telling you, a recruiter is now forever for the next 5 years. These guys on recruiting duty will be like, I like you, and I like you, and I like you, and I'll take you, and the rest of you guys go to the Air Force.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be great for them. So that'll solve our pilot problem, our pilot shortage problem. I guarantee it.
Roger.
So, anyway, all right, you guys have a great one.
Great to see you both.
We'll see you all. Thanks, Jeff. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a long night. It was great. It went by. It felt like it was about 15 minutes hanging out with Jeff and Psalms. Psalms is a Marine buddy of mine, F-18, and like I say, he lives right down the road, flies for a major cargo outfit, FedEx, and does a great job. So, you all have a great night. I will see you on Sunday, May 16th, when I share the screen with Michael Sheriff over in Scotland. And 11 very interesting guests. We'll have 5 separate segments. So we'll have about a 15-minute break in between each one. You can imagine recharging on some adult beverages, liquids, food, and all that stuff on Sunday. But it's going to be a really good show. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you're a Top Gun fan, like I am, I still 55 years old, love the movie. Please share that and look up Top Gun fan on Facebook, and you guys will check it out. So until then, see you then. Adios, hasta luegos, and I am signing off. Oh, I'm going to play the intro for the Top Gun Day. Take care. Thank you again, Michael Costanza.